There's something I've noticed about men under pressure. They don't usually say, I don't want clarity. Instead, they say things like, I don't have time for that. I'll deal with it later. I'm fine. I just need to get through this season. Does that sound familiar to you? And what's interesting is, those are usually the men who need clarity the most. So today, I want to talk about why men avoid clarity work, even when they feel overloaded, and why that avoidance actually makes things heavier over time. Now let's get something straight right from the beginning. Avoiding clarity work is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of adaptation. Men are wired biologically and socially to prioritize survival, responsibility, and output. When pressure increases, the instinct isn't to slow down and reflect. The instinct is to hold the line, to keep moving, to keep providing, to keep things from falling apart. That instinct has kept families alive for generations. So when your system resists slowing down, it's not failure, that's protection. It's survival. But here's what most men don't realize. The resistance isn't actually about clarity. It's about what clarity might reveal. Because clarity does something extremely dangerous. It forces honesty. And honesty about what's unsustainable. Honesty about what's misaligned. Honesty about what you've been carrying alone. And for a man who's built his identity around being dependable, that can feel threatening. And if I slow down and look clearly, what will I have to admit? There's something happening neurologically when a man is under sustained pressure. The brain prioritizes these things: threat detection, problem solving, and forward motion. Again, threat detection, problem solving, and forward motion. Reflection gets deprioritized. This isn't psychological weakness. It's physiology. Under chronic stress, the brain becomes task focused, but clarity impaired. You can function and you can definitely produce, but you lose the ability to step back and see the whole picture. Clearly, that is. That's why seeking clarity often feels uncomfortable at first. You're asking a system trained for survival to shift into discernment. Another reason men avoid clarity work is timing. They say things like, I'll do this when things calm down, when work slows down, when the kids are a little older, or when this season passes. But here's the hard truth. Seasons don't pass on their own. They stack one on top of the other. You tell yourself things like, once this project is done, I'll finally be able to breathe. And the project ends. But now you're onboarding someone new, or managing a new expectation, or dealing with the fallout of the last one. Then family needs increase. Kids get older, schedules get fuller. You never go back to baseline. You just add more on top. And clarity delayed becomes pressure multiplied. Let me say that again. Clarity delayed becomes pressure multiplied. Do you really think chapters begin and end cleanly in your 30s and 40s? It doesn't. It just overlaps. And the longer you carry things without ordering them, the heavier everything feels. Even the good stuff. And there's a quiet spiritual tension here too. Many men were taught implicitly or explicitly that endurance equals faithfulness. That pushing through equals strength. And don't get me wrong, endurance is really important. But endurance without discernment becomes suffering for its own sake. There's a difference between carrying responsibility and carrying confusion. Wisdom has always required pause, attention, and direction, not just effort. Even strength needs guidance. And some men avoid clarity work because it feels soft, too reflective, too inward, too emotional. But clarity isn't about emotion. It's about order. Order in priorities, order in decisions, and order in direction. Every effective leader understands this, whether they name it or not. Confusion creates friction. Clarity creates momentum. And here's the paradox. The same men who resist clarity work are often the ones making the most decisions. They lead teams, and often many teams. They provide for their families, and they carry the responsibility. They wouldn't lead a business without clear direction, but they try to lead their lives in that way. Eventually, something bends, then breaks. Not dramatically, just quietly. Clarity isn't stepping away from responsibility. It's stepping into it with intention. It's not about slowing down forever. It's about slowing down enough to aim. Strong men don't avoid clarity, they use it. They understand that pressure handled without direction eventually turns inward. If you felt resistant to this kind of work, it makes complete sense. You weren't taught how to do it. You were taught how to endure. But endurance without clarity eventually becomes exhaustion. Clarity doesn't weaken you. It frees you to move forward without spinning your tires. If this resonates, you don't need to force yourself into anything. Just notice the resistance. Resistance often points to the edge of something important. And in the next video, we'll talk about who clarity coaching is actually for and who it isn't. If this conversation matters to you, subscribe and stay with me. We're building this step by step. And if you're ready to stop carrying everything alone and start moving forward with intention, the link below is where to start. I'll see you in the next one.